Hi there, my name is Lara Kilgore. I am the owner and founder of Beyond Education, and I am excited to share with you some exciting changes that we've made to our test prep services. So, as some of you may know, Beyond Education is about to celebrate our 7th birthday, and ever since the beginning, we have provided test prep to families here in San Antonio as one of our 4 different services that we provide. So that includes K through 12 tutoring, college advising, homeschool support, and then test prep. So what exactly is test prep? Well, you may think of 2 very well-known tests, which is the SAT and the ACT that we support students with. That's specifically for college admissions. But you may not know that we also help families with ISEE and SSAT, as well as some other standardized tests that are used for private school admissions for K through 12. But I wanted to focus on the changes that we're making that are directly impacting our SAT and our ACT support. So first off, why did we need to make changes? Well, for those of you who don't know, there's been a lot of things that have changed as far as the SAT, the ACT in the last 5 years. First off, during 2020, one of the biggest things that happened is that we saw every university across the nation go test optional in response to COVID. People couldn't access test centers. It wasn't safe to go to testing centers. And so schools said, hey, you know what? You don't need to submit an SAT or an ACT. Whereas before, almost every university in the country required at least an SAT or an ACT. We've seen in the last couple years that some schools, especially highly competitive schools, have come back to a test mandatory, or many schools have a nuanced test optional, but it might be mandatory if you're applying for their honors program or certain scholarships. And so we've seen a huge uptick in the need for SAT and ACT. In fact, as our on-staff college advisor, I highly recommend that students take the SAT or the ACT and do not assume that they'll be applying to a school or all of their schools will be test optional. So that required us to really start looking at, okay, it's been 6 years, what changes do we need to make to our test prep services to make sure that we are on the cutting edge and the forefront of SAT and ACT prep so that you, as the families that we serve, are getting the best service possible. So we have made 3 big changes. First, we have created a whole new position on our administrative team called the Test Prep Manager. And we're very excited we were able to promote from within. So a fantastic woman named Jay Constanzo has taken over the position. She comes to us from Health Careers. She's been a Beyond mentor for a couple years, and she used to be an AP English teacher and has just been fabulous at the position. So what does she do? Jay has been our go-to person for all things test prep. She is making sure that we're making the improvements that, she's researching what are the best resources to use, what are the things we should be using, and then making sure that they're implemented. And so she has been fabulous at that. So if you ever connect with Jay or hear from her, that is our test prep manager person. She is our test prep expert on our staff. Secondly, one of the biggest questions that I've dealt with in my 15 years of providing test prep and tutoring services to families is what test, the SAT or the ACT, should my student take? Previously, before this change and thing that I'm about to tell you about, previously how that conversation went is I would tell the families, all right, we're going to take a mini SAT and we're going to take a mini ACT and we'll compare the scores and see how you do. Or we'll take your PSAT score and we'll compare it to a mini ACT that we give you. Realistically, we were basing our results off of a one-time performance, right? Which might have been a decent number to use, but it was a lot of guessing, a lot of guesswork at the end of the day. And so we're in the age of big data. I had to think that there was something that existed that would give us more information, more granular data where we could really make an advised well-advised decision on which test you should focus on, the SAT or the ACT. And I was so excited when I found out that there was. And so that's called the Mindprint test. And that is a diagnostic tool that was created out of the University of Pennsylvania's medical school. It's completely 100% research-based, by neuroscientists and psychologists, where it tests your students using about 10 puzzle-based assessments to see how their brain works. And then it takes that information and all of the information that we know about the SAT and the ACT and says, okay, based on how your kid processes information, their brain is going to lean towards the SAT or the ACT, and they're going to score better on one of these two tests. So it gives you a definitive answer as far as which test you should take. Now, as of right now, this is an optional diagnostic that you guys can choose to take. If you do it, included in the cost is proctoring that exam. You can come into the office or we can proctor it virtually. It's about a 45-minute to an hour-long test, depending on the student. And then within 24 hours, we get the result, and Jay analyzes them and reviews the results with you and your student. And then we go forward in test prep. So that's our second big change that we've made to test prep, is having the mind print diagnostic. The third big change that we have made an update to test prep is the online resource that we're using called Test Innovators. Now, before we used a myriad of books from Kaplan to College Board resources, Khan Academy, variety of things. All of those things are great, except that last year, the SAT went 100% digital. So now we really wanted to find a tool where the student could have lots of time and lots of experience taking a test online, right? It's not necessarily wasted time for them to work in a workbook and then take a test online, but ultimately we want them to practice, as my coaches said growing up, we want to practice the way you play, right? And so if the test is going to be digital, then we want to make sure that you're practicing on a digital format. So Test Innovators is what we're using. Here's the other thing we love about Test Innovators. They have thousands of practice questions. We can search them by category. We can assign them. We can see how long it takes your student to take them. Did they get them right? Did they get them wrong? The other part that we love is that it has, for the digital SAT, 10 full-length digital adaptive tests, which is a big deal. There are not any other resources that we've found that has that many adaptive tests. And that's a unique feature of, again, of the digital SAT that launched this past year. It also has thousands of resources and practice questions for the ACT as well. So they can study for either test using Test Innovators. And we've already been using it. Mentors have said it's amazing. We can assign problems to your student. We can see how long they worked on their problems. We can track their progress. So we're super excited to use this resource. And so those are the changes that we've made to test prep. We've already seen lots of improvement and we've already gotten lots of good feedback. If you're interested in the MindPrint test, or if you want to make sure that you're using Test Innovators, you're not sure that you are, feel free to contact us, give us a call or email us, send us a text, and we will get you all set up. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.